Okay, in this section, we're going to discuss inequalities. An inequality is just like an equation where it's going to compare two values. An equation will tell you that two values are equal, right? They'll say that, x is the same thing as 4, okay? So that those two values are the same. Inequalities are set up kind of the same way, but they will tell you that one value is either less than or greater than another value. So I could say that, let's just use numbers, a numerical expressions here so you can see it a little better. 2 is less than 4. Okay, or we could say 4 is greater than 2. Okay, so these symbols have been introduced to you in math lab, and you probably saw them again in previous courses. But let's remind ourselves, how do we solve an inequality, an algebraic inequality? And so one thing that's really nice is that you're going to use the same rules as an equation. So if you have an equation, let's say, okay, x plus 3 equals 8, okay, all you have to do is subtract 3 from both sides, right? Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other, and you get x equals 5, okay? So an inequality is very similar in that if I tell you that x plus 3 is less than 8, we can still subtract 3 from both sides, and we'll have x is less than 5. So all of the rules still apply. Now, I want to remind you of one additional rule with inequalities that you don't see with an equation. When you multiply or divide an inequality, an inequality by -1, okay, or by any negative, we'll just say any negative, by a negative, okay, a negative, flip the sign, okay? So you must flip the sign. If you multiply or divide the inequality by a negative number, you must flip the sign. Okay, so let's talk about how we can express the solutions to an inequality, okay? When you have a solution to an equation, like we said before, x equals 5, there's just one solution, okay? And it's 5. Now, if I'd said that the solution was x is greater than 5, well, there's a lot of solutions to that. 7's greater than 5, right? X could be 12, x could be 15, x could be a million, okay? There's infinitely many solutions to x greater than 5, okay? And not only that, is that including all the integers, all the real numbers as well. It's physically impossible for us to name every single solution independently that of x is greater than 5. So we have a couple different ways that we could write this, okay? Express our solutions. So x is greater than 5, we could express it simply using the inequality symbol, okay? There's other ways that we can express this as well. We could graph this on a number line, okay? And what would that look like? So if we had a number line, okay, let's say this is our number line, and it goes on infinitely this way, goes on infinitely that way, okay? Now, let's give ourselves a couple numbers. Let's say this is 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, okay? This is a very short segment of the number line. Well, to graph x is greater than 5, what we'll do is we'll draw a line that represents all of the solutions to x is greater than 5. So x has to be greater than 5. So what we'll do is we'll put a little open circle here at 5 and draw a line going towards infinity, anything that's larger than 5, okay? That's how we would represent the solution graphically. Now, there's one more way that we can represent the solution, and that's called with interval notation. So interval notation is a way of expressing an answer to an inequality. Okay, it uses parentheses and brackets to show where the graphs start and where they end. Okay, now one thing to note is that with inequalities, there's actually 4 inequality symbols. There's the less than and there's the greater, but there's also a less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. Okay, let's think about the difference between these two. All right, let's say that I am working a shift at night and I need to make at least $50 to be able to, make enough to pay for my rent the next day. So I need to make at least $50. That means I can make anything $50 or more. So I would express that with an inequality saying that X has to be greater than or equal to 50, right? I can make 50 and still be okay, or anything more. So if I make 57, great, I got an extra $7. So the equals, the line underneath the inequality includes the equal, okay? So when we express an inequality with the equal sign, okay, using interval notation or graphing, we have to be able to differentiate between those, okay? So how are we going to do that with these interval notations? So a parentheses will mean that we have a less than or a greater than, okay? A bracket will mean that we have a less than or equal to or the greater than or equal to, okay? So let's go ahead and do a few of these examples. Okay, so first we're going to solve our inequalities, and then we're going to express the answers in 2 different ways. We're going to graph it, and then we're also going to express it using interval notation. Okay, so let's look at how to solve these inequalities. So